Yo! What's up? This is Patrick.
And this is Pat.
And in this video, we're going to show you how to set up reverse hybrid tables without using Tabular Editor. Stay tuned. If you find this for the very first time, be sure to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date from all the videos from both Adam and this guy. All right, Pat, welcome to theCUBE. Before we get into all this fancy reverse hybrid stuff, why don't you do a quick introduction and tell people who you are and what you do.
So I'm Pat Mahoney. I actually was trained as a chemist. I worked in the pharma industry for a long time, and I'm just another example of Power Pivot, Power BI changing somebody's career. I've always had a passion for data, got real involved in the Power Platform communities, started a YouTube channel and blog under the name of Hoosier BI, because I live in Indiana, and then I was really excited to join the CAT team and been with Microsoft almost a year now.
Okay, Pat, so you and I chat a lot and we talk about cool things that we run across. And then you showed me this thing because of course I did it with Tabular Editor because I'm like, that's the only way you could do it. And you're like, no, Patrick, I got a better way. A lot of people don't have Tabular Editor. They want to use it. They want to use Power BI Desktop.
So yeah, so I was helping this customer. Well, instead of all this talking, I know how you like to do, let's head over to my machine. And so I came up with this mock scenario here to reflect the conversation we had. They had years and years worth of data. I'm talking about a much smaller set here, but the scenario is the same. So I've got this database. In my case, I've got Azure SQL, and I've got 15 months of data. And I know my consumers, and most of the time, they just look at the last 6 months of data. But once in a while, they like to look further back. I'm making this report, and I'm concerned about model size and overall performance for a majority of the users. And I don't want to load all that data. So of course, I could do a full import of just the last 6 months. I could set up incremental refresh. Maybe I could use a hybrid table if my users are concerned with getting the latest data in real time, but that doesn't address the few cases where people need to look further back. And so you've got this video on setting up custom partitions with Tabular Editor, where you can set up the DQ partition to be in the past. And I shared your video with this customer. They said, yeah, that's great, but I'm still loading a lot of data. I'd like to take full advantage of incremental refresh as well. So I said, all right, let me think on it. And I came up with this approach. And so what I did is I just made a small Azure SQL database, and I just set up a typical hybrid table. And then with a little bit of M code, we can modify a hybrid table to be a reverse hybrid table. So what I would do here is just do a typical hybrid table setup, look at incremental refresh. In my case, I'm going back 6 months and I want to refresh the last 7 days, and note that this requires premium or premium per user. I check this box, and that automatically creates the hybrid partition for me when I publish my model. And so if I go over to the query editor, I can show you how this works. And so this top query here, it's just a simple hybrid table setup. I've set up my range start and range end parameters that are required for incremental refresh. If I go up to the advanced editor, you can see here, this is a very typical setup where I'm filtering in my last step for using my range start and range end parameters. So nothing to see here. And if I look over here and I look at view native query, everything's folded nice back to my source. And so in each partition, it's going to take the range start and range end parameters that are passed into that partition and filter my data. So that's out of the box hybrid table, nothing to see there. So when we talk about the reverse hybrid option and I go to the advanced editor, you'll see I've added some M code here. The steps at the end here are identical to what I just showed you, with one significant change, in that instead of filtering off of the range start and range end, I'm filtering off the new start and new end, and I've defined those above. And one of the things that's interesting about when it sets up this direct query partition is the range start is today, and then the range end is actually far into the future, currently like 2029. And so I can take advantage of that and use an if expression to detect sort of which partition I'm in. So all of my archive and refresh partitions are in the past, only my DQ partition is in the future. And so I can look at the range end for both the new start, new end, and compare it to now when refresh occurs. And for all the past partitions, it just returns range start and range end, and all those partitions behave as normal, and I get the benefits of incremental refresh. However, in the range end partition, this is true. And so I know when my data starts. So in this case, I hard coded a date time for the start of 2022. You could also make this dynamic. And then for the future, I know how far back my archive partitions go. And so I can dynamically set this to end just where those begin. So in my case, go back 6 months with date.add months. So that's all there is to the change. And this is a bit of an M code hack here. So if there are future product changes related to partitions, it could break this, but this works for now.
I noticed that you're using datetime.local now, and something I was thinking about when I published this out to the service, you really need to take that into consideration when you're scheduling refresh, because it's UTC. at that point. And so when I schedule my refresh, I just need to be aware of what could potentially happen.
Yes, definitely. Good point. And people need to keep that in mind with any incremental refresh that they're setting up.
Okay, so back to your laptop.
So in our reverse hybrid one here, right now I've got the range start and range end set to a narrow range in the past just for the month of February. And if I look at the native query here, this would act like one of the archive or refresh partitions. It's just passing in my range start and range end parameters. So that's great. But now if I go ahead and change my range end to a date in the future to simulate what it's going to be like in the DQ partition, and now if I do view native query, you'll see that it actually passes in my hard-coded start date, my new start, and then my new end is dynamically calculated to be less than September 1st, so 6 months ago. And so that's how it works within each partition. And then if I just show you what the published report looks like, this is the one with the reverse hybrid. So again, I've got my archive data that's real snappy and performant, but now also if I click on these past months, it'll also show the past data as well. So that's just to show that it is working in the service.
And so now, using these little tips and tricks, if you want to go out and write some in, you can actually configure this and reverse the hybrid configuration that normally comes with the current partition in DQ mode and the past partition in archive mode. Now I can reverse it and have the current one in import mode and the past one in DQ mode. It's just bananas, Pat. This is bananas. Thank you so much for showing this. This is amazing. You don't know about hybrid tables, you want to learn more, got tons of videos out on our YouTube channel. Is this something you're struggling with or something you want to learn about? Let us know. You know what to do. Post it in the comments below. If it's your first time visiting the Guy in the Cube channel, hit that subscribe button. You like this video, big thumbs up. As always, from Adam
and Pat
and myself, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.